everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a fun one because I am going to be trying out Ace Beauté. I've got the Mystic Romance palette here, which is the first palette that I will have ever tried from the brand, and I was feeling really inspired by the color story to create some Valentine's themed looks. So if you are looking for some inspiration for Valentine's makeup, or you have this palette and you're looking for some looks that you can do with it, I hope that you will stay tuned. I will go ahead and pass you over to the first look. All right, so this is going to be my first time ever trying Ace Beauté. I am lucky enough to receive a monthly subscription box from Ipsy, and the Mystic Romance was in the box for February, and I just love the color story. I feel like it's perfect for this time of year to do Valentine's looks, but there's also some really good neutral mattes in here, as well as some shades that I think could create some really kind of grungy and smoky looks. So I was feeling really inspired by this palette, and I figured I might as well try it out on camera with you so that you all can get my first impressions of the Ace Beauté formula, as well as get some Valentine's inspiration for some looks, or if you have this palette or similar palettes. I feel like this is actually a really similar color story to the new Beauty Bay palette that just dropped. You could get some inspiration for looks from that too. So I actually don't think I'm going to swatch the entire palette, but I would like to swatch some of these shimmers just to see kind of what we're working with here. So here are some finger swatches for you. The shimmer formula looks really nice, shiny, impactful. This shade is Aura, this shade is Celestial, this shade is called Devotion, and this shade is called Starry. The shade Starry is really catching my eye. It seems to have a bit of a flip to it. Let's see what these look like swatched on the back of my hand. Wow, really, really nice formula. Very smooth and seems to stretch a good ways. And then the other two shimmers in the palette, Euphoria and Spellbound, seem to be a slightly different formula. They don't seem to have the same amount of reflect as the others that I just swatched. So more of just like a traditional, almost like satin formula. So here's what those look like. This one is Euphoria and this one is Spellbound. So not quite as shifty and sparkly, but still really buttery and smooth and pretty. Looks like there's really good pigment to all of these. So there's a lot of ways I think I could go. I could definitely go the more pink and red route, and I'm sure one of my looks will kind of take that route. But there's also a real grungy, smoky neutrals kind of vibe in this palette. There's also some beautiful plummy kind of purpley tones. We're gonna get to all of it, but I think for my first look, I'm gonna go with my instinct and do a look using the shade Starry, which is this one here that has that really pretty purple shift to it. It's like a warm, almost browny purple base with a shift in the sparkles, like a purpley blue shift. So I think I'm going to build the first look around that. So let's zoom in and we'll get started. For my skin tone, the shade Sacred I think will work really well as a lid setting and maybe under the brow highlight kind of shade. So I'm just going to start by putting that all over the lid, going down into the inner corner and all the way up to underneath the brow. I have primed my lids with the Ulta Beauty Matte Eyeshadow Primer, and I set them with my Pat McGrath Under Eye Blurring Powder, as I usually do. So far, this seems like a more powdery formula. I am getting a good amount of kick up in the pan. I'm not sure if you can see that when I dip my brush in. I know people have different preferences when it comes to eyeshadow formulas, particularly for mattes. I tend to like a more powdery formula just because I feel like it gives me a little bit more blendability. So let's go in with the shade Fog, which is this sort of taupey, plummy matte shade. And I'm just going to put that through my crease. Seems like a really pigmented color because I barely had to tap my brush in, and I'm getting lots of pigment. That's a really pretty color. I think just to warm things up slightly, I'm going to go in with Rose shade here, which is like a really nice muted, almost mauvey rosy pink. And I'm just going to add a little bit more warmth through the crease with this shade. I'm having a really easy time with this formula so far. The mattes seem to be blending just seamlessly and flawlessly together. So to deepen things up, I'm going to go in with the shade Euphoria. This is one of those more satin formulas that we swatched. So I'm going to try it with a brush, and then if I feel like I might get better payoff with my finger, I will just switch. But I'm going to use that in the outer corner. Let's see if I can build it with the brush. I typically apply shimmers with my fingers anyway, but I don't know, for people who don't like to use their fingers, it can be nice to see how the brush works. I think the brush works fine. I'm not getting a lot of shine from the shade using a brush, but it's also, like I said, more of that satin formula. Let me just go over with my finger and see if that makes a difference. I think using my finger did bring out a little bit more of the shine, but I also just don't think this is an especially shiny shade. Okay, I'm just going to tap into a little bit of fog again to blend out those corners. And then with my finger, I'm going to go into that shade Starry and apply that all over the lid. This shade just looks so special. There's how that shade is looking. It's definitely almost cooler tone in comparison with that shade Euphoria that we used on the outer corner. It's almost like a muted purple with a good amount of taupe to it, which honestly makes it really unique, I think, as far as purples go, at least in my palette collection. That is really, really pretty and so impactful. Like, I feel like you could just get a really nice twist on a smoky eye really quickly by throwing any of these mattes in the crease and outer corner and this shade all over the lid, and you've got drama, you've got a little bit of fun from the color, but it's also really, really pretty and shiny and magical on the lid. So loving that so far. Going back with my blending brush again, just to make sure I've got those edges nice and blended. The only thing this palette is really missing for me is a sparkly inner corner shade. So I'm just going to do a little bit more of the shade we started with and just kind of put that in the inner corner as a matte brightening shade. But I would have loved to see like a duochrome, you know, icy lavender purple. I think that would have been really pretty in this palette, but you could obviously grab for any highlighter that you have in your collection if you wanted to add a little sparkle to the inner corner. I'm just going to touch up that shade Euphoria on the outer corner a little bit, just so that we can make sure we haven't totally lost it, because I do think it really adds something to the look. Adds a little bit of warmth to that cooler tone shimmer shade. And then I'm also going to take that shade on the lower lash line. I've got a little bit of fallout from that really sparkly lid shade. Not enough to really bother me, but something to keep in mind if you maybe wanted to do your eyes first with this palette or use a glitter glue. That'll just kind of prevent that glitter from falling down a little bit better. I might take a little bit of that plummy matte shade called Fig and just deepen up the lower lash line a touch on the outer corners. All right, I think that's it for the first eye look. I'm gonna run and do eyeliner and mascara and pick out a lip, and then I will be back to show you the finished look. Okay, so I used the Urban Decay 24/7 Glide On Eye Pencil and Alkaline on the lower waterline and the lower lash line, and the e.l.f. Lash Extender Mascara. On my lips is the Violette FR Petal Bouche Matte Rose Petal Lips in the shade Cora Infidel, which, by the way, if you aren't following me on Instagram or TikTok, I've been doing 14 days of showcasing a different lippy every day. So if you're looking for any lippy recommendations, definitely go check out those videos. I'll have both of those accounts linked in the description box below. I have to say, as I was kind of wrapping up this look, I noticed that the shade that we put in the outer corner, the kind of more satin one called Euphoria, really started to fade away, and I ended up picking up a little bit of this black called Mystic just to try to add a little bit of depth in the outer corner, because I felt like the shade Euphoria had basically all but disappeared. And the more I was kind of playing around with that, the patchier I felt like this outer corner got. I'm a little bit disappointed with that because I even touched up that shade after, you know, the application of the shimmer all over the lid. So I think for the rest of my looks, I'm definitely going to use my NYX glitter primer. I'm also noticing a lot of glitter fallout, as I mentioned. Again, the more I was kind of messing around with the eye look, the more glitter fell out onto my cheeks. So I'm hoping that the NYX glitter primer will solve a lot of those problems in the looks going forward. But that being said, I do think this is a pretty look. The star of the show is definitely this shimmer called Starry. I feel like it just looks so pretty on the eyes. And I do love a purple eye with a hot pink lip. Something about it just gives me like 80s Barbie vibes. And I am loving this as a really fun, kind of different option for Valentine's Day, apart from, you know, the classic red lip. Not that there's anything wrong with a classic red lip. I love that as well. But just to have some variety over the month of February leading up to the holiday, or really for any time, because makeup has no rules. So that is it for look number one. I will go ahead and pass you on to the next look. Okay, we're back for look number two, and I think for this look, I'm really gonna go for it and do a deep, dark, gunmetal smoky eye using these 4 shades along here and maybe a little bit of this shade as well. So I'm actually gonna start with a black liner, which is a technique that I don't always do. I usually go lightest to darkest in my eye looks, but for a really full-on smoky eye like this, I find that it sometimes can actually be easier to go darkest to lightest. So this is the Catrice 20-Hour Ultra Precision Gel Eye Pencil in the shade Black, and I'm gonna start by tightlining and applying the pencil along the lash line. And everything I do on the top, I'm going to repeat on the bottom. So I'll go ahead and put some liner all on the bottom lash line as well, and also in the waterline. I'm actually going to leave a little bit of space open here just so I don't close off my eyes too much. But obviously that's personal preference. All right, and then I'm taking a little pencil brush and I'm going into the black shade called Mystic. I'm just gonna go right over that liner and start smoking it out. I just accidentally poked my contact out, so I don't recommend doing that. This eye's gonna be a little teary for a minute. Oops. And I'm gonna start bringing the outer corner out and up a little bit. Not too far, but just enough to start building in a shape that we can go back and refine. With the smoky eye, you have to trust the process. It's just very scary until you get to the end result. Okay, now I'm gonna take the shade Enchantment, which is like just a deep chocolatey brown matte. And I'm going to kind of go over where we were blending the black. This shade might have a little bit of plumminess to it. It's definitely translating a little bit more plummy brown than I was thinking, but that's okay. That's so weird because it literally looks like a brown in the pan, but on my eye it looks so purple. With this shade, I'm just sort of filling in the space on my lid using the guideline we created with the black, but not going above my crease yet. And then I'm gonna switch back to my pencil brush, go back in with some more of the black and soften the transition, go back in with my larger brush and blend. And we're just gonna be switching back and forth and blending a lot during this look. Same thing on the bottom lash line, so just going over that black with a little bit of the shade Enchantment, which I thought was brown, but is apparently purple. All right, so next I'm going to take a fluffier brush and go in with this warm brown shade Enigma and use that to blend through the crease to kind of diffuse that depth and act as a transition between the darker colors and the brow bone. There's no real patchiness so far. I think the pigmentation on these shades is really good, so you can go a little bit lighter than you think you need to. Just taking a little of that warm brown shade over the edges of the bottom lash line as well. Okay, and then finally I'm going to go into the shade Sacred, which is that lightest lid setting type shade, and just use that to soften crease so there's a nice transition into the brow bone area. And if you want a little too heavy, you can also use this to kind of tamp down on any areas that are a little too dark. All right, those mattes are looking pretty good, so I'm going to go in with the NYX glitter primer through, I think, just the center area of my mobile lid here, because I don't want the whole lid to be sparkly. I kind of want it to be like a halo or a spotlight effect. And I'm hoping using the glitter primer cuts down on some of the fallout. So right just kind of in the center of the lid here. And then I'm going to take my finger into the shade Devotion, which is that kind of gunmetal gray shade, and tap that through the center, right where we put the glitter glue. And then I'll use a clean finger to kind of help diffuse that toward the inner corner. I think that looks really cool. Very edgy rock chick vibes. I am just going to go in and blend around that shade though to make sure it's incorporated into the mattes really flawlessly. What I want to do is put some of that shimmer right here, but I feel like that might be a recipe for disaster. Let's try it anyway. I'm just going to use my pinky and try to be careful. So I'll put a little bit of the glitter primer, just putting that through the front of my lower lash line. And then I'm going to carefully try to put some of that Devotion shade in that area. Just for my own preferences, I think I'm going to try to brighten up the inner corner with that matte shade Sacred, just so things don't look too bruise-like in here. I mean, it's a very smoky look, so it's going to look a little bit bruise-like, but just to kind of brighten that inner area a little bit. And then I think this is a look that could use a little bit of extra concealer under the eyes just for some extra brightening. So I'm going to do that. This is the NARS Soft Matte Concealer. There we go. I feel like those little touches make all the difference. And to be honest, I feel like this is also a look that really needs lashes. So I might try to put some lashes on. We'll see. Let me go at least do mascara and then I'll be back to show you the finished look. All right, and here is the finished look for look number 2. I did end up successfully being able to put some lashes on. Yay! I struggle with lashes, so I'm really proud of myself that I got them on my eyes, and I feel like if there was ever a look that suited fake lashes, it was this look. You know what I'm saying? These are Ardell Wispies. I want to say they are 120s. I'm not 100% sure, so I'll try to put that in the description box. And then on my lips, since the eyes are so dark, I wanted to go really nice and nude, so I used the e.l.f. Cream Glide Lip Liner in the shade Baddest Beige. This is not an exact dupe, but it is close enough to basically take the place of Charlotte Tilbury Iconic Nude in a lot of my more neutral lip looks, and it's only $2, so don't sleep on this one. And then my favorite nude lipstick from the drugstore, which is L'Oreal Color Riche 800 Fairest Nude. And I feel like it's the perfect combo to balance out a really heavy, deep, dark, smoky eye. I really like the way that this turned out. There's definitely a slight hint of plum, which I wasn't even necessarily going for or expecting, but I feel like it really brought the look together and made it a little bit more flattering than just harsh black on my eyes. And the shimmer shade from the palette, this shade right here, Devotion, is so beautiful. I love it, and I feel like The addition of the NYX glitter primer really did help to adhere the glitters to my eyes, and I don't have as much fallout all over my face, which is a great thing considering how deep the shades of eyeshadow I was working with are. If you want to feel super sexy this Valentine's Day and you want to go for like a total just like vixen, dark feminine energy, bad girl vibe, do a look like this and pull out all the stops. Wear some lashes if you got them, because I feel like $1,000,000 right now. Unfortunately, I have to take this makeup off and go to bed now. So I will send you over to look number 3. Okay, for look number 3, I really want to play with the pinks and reds in this palette and just go full Valentine's Day. I've got my little Hello Kitty Valentine's earrings on, and I kind of just want to play up the red and pink aspect of the season. So I'm going to start with the shade Rose and just putting that through my crease. Okay, and then on a slightly smaller but still fluffy brush, I'm going to take the shade Temptress, which is sort of like a deeper magenta matte, and I'm going to deepen up the crease a bit with that. I have an idea for a look. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to turn out, but I think I'm just going to go for it and try it. So I'm going to take the shade Allure, which is the red matte in the palette, and I'm going to pack that on the lid. This is a really, really pretty rich red shade. Super pigmented and easy to get on the lid without any patchiness. Okay, and then where the red meets that magenta, I'm going to go back in with that magenta shade called Temptress and just blend. We're getting a nice red to pink gradient going on. I'm going to take that red up underneath my lash line as well. And gently blend that edge because I feel like this could get really out of hand really quickly. Okay, now I'm gonna do a little like mock halo eye situation. So I'm gonna take the shade Aura, which is more of this like peachy shimmer, and I'm gonna put that on the inner and outer corner. And then I'll take this lighter gold champagne shade called Celestial through the center of the lid. But first I'm gonna put a thin layer of the NYX glitter primer down all across the lid space. And then I'm just going in with my finger into the shade Aura. I'm going to put that on the inside and the outside. And then using a clean finger, I'm taking the shade Celestial right down the middle. Super pretty. These shimmers, these two shimmers in particular, are really, really gorgeous, shifty, impactful shades. That just gives us a nice little halo effect on the lid. So same thing on the other eye. And since I have hooded eyes and I still want you to be able to see a little bit of the sparkle when my eyes are open, I'm just going to diffuse some of those sparkly shades up above my crease a little bit. Always a good trick for those of you who have hooded eyes if you want your eyeshadow to still be seen when your eyes are open. All right, so here is how things are looking. I think I'm gonna take a little bit of glitter primer and do some shimmer on the lower lash line, but just maybe just that brighter gold shade Celestial. I'm gonna put Celestial toward the inner part. And what the heck, might as well add some of Aura in there as well. So I'll take some of that and connect that to the mattes on the bottom. All right, and there is the look. So I need to clean up these edges a little bit. I'm also gonna grab eyeliner, mascara, and lips, but then I will be back to show you the finished look. Okay, so here is the finished look for look number 3. I ended up putting a little bit of the ColourPop Cream Gel Liner in Joyride in the waterline, and then I felt like I wanted to tie in the burgundy with the lip. Obviously, this look would probably look really cute with a pink or a red or a nude, but I've just been having so much fun playing around with bold lip colors lately So I used the Maybelline Superstay Vinyl Ink in the shade 135 Fearless. I don't know, it's kind of cool. It's not your typical Valentine's Day look. Come to think of it, none of the looks in this video have really been your typical Valentine's look. This one is really reminding me of like a phoenix rising from the ashes Valentine's Day look. I don't know. Hopefully you enjoyed seeing some different kind of Valentine's Day looks, as well as some looks from the palette. As far as my final thoughts go on the palette, I think it's beautiful. I really enjoyed the color story and playing around with all the different tones. I think as far as palettes go, you are getting a lot of variety in this one, from neutrals and grungy grays to reds and pinks to some really beautiful purples, and even unique purples that I don't necessarily see repeated again and again in a lot of palettes. The Ace Beauté formula really did impress me, particularly the mattes. Just great pigmentation, really blendable, easy to work with. I will say I recommend using the NYX glitter primer with the shimmers to get the most impact with the least amount of fallout. Yeah, as far as first impressions go, I am a fan of the Ace Beauté formula from what I've tried today. If you've tried Ace Beauté and you have a favorite palette of theirs, please let us know that down in the comments down below, as well as if you're planning on doing your makeup for Valentine's Day, what look you might do. Are you going to do something a little bit more classic with a red or a pink lip? Are you going to go edgy and grungy? Are you going to do something a little bit more bold like this? I would love to know and to take inspiration from you as well. Thank you so much for watching this video today, and please give the video a like if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe before you leave if you'd like to see some more content from me. I hope to see you in my next video, and until then, I will talk to you later. Bye.